Now, if you remember the name Peter Daszak, and I don't fault you if you don't, because there were a lot of names involved in this coronavirus issue, but he's currently one of the WHO, World Health Organization inspectors, or the WHO, as some people are calling it, one of their current inspectors. He is also the president of EcoHealth Alliance. And what you may remember about him, if you've been listening to this show, is that he was actually one of the recipients of a lot of the funding from the National Institute of Health and the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases. And that funding, remember, was passed over to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to run both this survey of coronaviruses that started in the year 2014, and then later the gain of function research that was allegedly started sometime in 2019. Now, we told you about gain of function, and that is where they try to make the virus, deadlier, more transmissible, and more easily invading human cells. And so what they did, allegedly, is take coronaviruses that they got out of a cave in China and some bat guano. And remember, the bat woman, Xi Jinping, was involved in all this. But what's explosive about this new piece of information is that a video has surfaced from December of 2019. Now, this was before anybody, even the Morgan Streetman show, had an inkling about the coronavirus that was coming out of China. And during this December 9th, 2019 video that was filmed at the Nipah Virus International Conference in Singapore, there's a guy named Peter Daszak, who we told you about, and he had a quote, and he says, this is so interesting. He says, coronaviruses are pretty good. You can manipulate them in the lab pretty easily. The spiked proteins drive a lot about what happens. You can get the sequence. You can build the protein. We work with Ralph Barrick at UNC, the University of North Carolina, to do this. Insert into the backbone of another virus and do some work in a lab. So here he is describing in December of 2019 how they basically had a backbone coronavirus, and they would insert these different spike proteins into that. Now, you'll remember from about a year ago where we were reporting on this concept, and there have been whistleblowers that have come forward and said this is exactly what was going on at that Wuhan Institute for Virology. They have a backbone coronavirus that they can sort of plug and play. They can insert different spike proteins in and try it out, and this is the exact kind of research they were doing. So here he is, December 9th of 2019, talking about it and mentioning a very interesting name, which is the Professor Ralph Barrick at University of North Carolina, UNC Chapel Hill.
They can release that whenever they want control.
Well, there you go. I mean, I'm sure that the coronavirus we have, COVID-19, is not the only one that they played around with, right? Okay, but now here's something important also involving Ralph Barrick. It has now come out, and this is an exclusive to the Gateway Pundit, which has done some great reporting on these very issues. It has now come out that Dr. Ralph Barrick signed an agreement on December 12th, 2019, 3 days after this video was recorded, involving Peter Daszak talking about Ralph Barrick, and the agreement said that Ralph Barrick would receive the mRNA coronavirus vaccine candidates developed and jointly owned by the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases and Moderna. Now, does anybody see a problem with that timing? You see a problem with that timing, Pat?
Yes.
December 12th, he's signing an agreement about an mRNA vaccine for coronavirus developed by Moderna. And what do we have today? We have people taking that very vaccine today.
That's a little early.
That's a little bit early, isn't it? I mean, how many of us even had heard of the coronavirus?
Well, you did if you listened to this show. I think that's when
not by December.
It wasn't December?
I appreciate the credit, Roxanne, but December is even just a little... January, we were on it.
Right. Okay.
But December, no, that was early even for us. That was early even for us.
And that's only because it was holiday time and we weren't all here.
That's right. I was in my sugar coma, and I just missed it. But you got to think about that timing. They were already developing a mRNA vaccine, Moderna was, and by the way, jointly owned with the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases. I mean, that is absolutely an explosive data point because it means that they knew that this coronavirus was coming. They'd already started working on a vaccine. It was apparently already developed as of December 12th. and they're making agreements with a U.S. research professor to receive the candidates that were being developed. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.